Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Geeky Geezers, and happy pre-Halloween. It's this Thursday. I'm your host, Aged Boomer. This is my co-host, Pacelli.
Hello.
What are you laughing about?
Just how I feel like now I gotta think through every word I say. Don't drop any swears. I gotta
Don't drop
be very,
any
very
swears.
careful.
We're positive on this channel.
Okay, yeah.
So excited about the change at Disney. I'm sure it'll be a good one. We love the house.
Can't talk about any of the no topics. That would be bad.
I mean, everything's canon, the James Gunn DC universe, bring it on. Hey man, we loved every Snyderverse movie ever made. They were all gems. Everyone like, oh, you don't like that FKHC 2005? Well, you can go kiss I'm sorry.
Thanks a lot. Okay, demonetized.
The first 15 minutes of the show, man, we're all positive here. Anyway.
Yeah, guys, this is the big channel announcement. I have reached full monetization. I am now eligible for AdSense. That does not mean that I am actually getting ad dollars from every video, as I'm coming to find out. More videos than you would think are ineligible for monetization. And I don't know why, because they
have
tell
AI doing everything, and AI doesn't know what it's doing. That's my opinion.
Well, and it does say, well, you can contest it. And I'm like, I'm not contesting it for old videos that nobody's going back and watching anyway. You know? I mean, I'll worry about it going forward.
Big Al
if you
presents.
want to stay positive, you could announce my news, too.
Oh,
well, I didn't want to announce yours, but those of you that were with us on Thursday for Netter's Network,
yesterday.
Was it Saturday? Oh yeah, right. It was during the Elvira rewatch. Netter has achieved her minimum financial
obligation.
Whatever.
I'm monetized.
She's now monetized. Yeah, you can become a member of her channel. You can send her super chat, super thanks, super squirrels. I don't know, but whatever the YouTube things are. But
the journey of a million miles begins with a single step.
Well, that's true, but every time there's an upgrade or something like this, it does make me think, well, I got to step up my game. I gotta improve. I've gotta play the game. I want to stream to more channels. Obviously, I'm on my YouTube channel. I'm on Aged Boomer's YouTube channel right now, and I am also streaming to X, and I'm going to say, and I can see you if you're there, only if you comment, though. So, I'm over there. I'm watching you on the X. I don't see anybody saying hi to me over there, but...
hi.
No, guys, don't do that thing where you have to go around and say hi on all the channels. You guys do way too much already. Just pick a channel and support it and give a thumbs up and encourage us every now and again. That's more than enough. Super appreciate all of you guys that make this happen. But we're going places, Boomer. I don't know if it's anywhere good, but we're going places.
There we go. Well, I didn't want to say hi to the chat. Big Al was first. Hello, my friends. Hope you have a great stream tonight. Happy Halloween week, right? It's Halloween week, isn't it?
There you go.
Except until Friday hits, and it's no longer Halloween. But I know that you'll be having a special on Netter's Network this Thursday. You'll be having a special Halloween show, right?
Yes, we will. And I think she doesn't do a lot of rewatches anymore on Thursdays.
Right.
But this one seems appropriate. There's a lot of very Halloween type films to do, and I said, look, back in the 80s, when I was a teen, you'd go to Halloween parties and it was always whoever the slasher was, right? It was Friday the 13th. It was Nightmare on Elm Street, Halloween, all those slasher movies, right? I said the absolute perfect one that we absolutely have to do is Behind the Mask: The Rise of Leslie Vernon, which is kind of a parody of all of those. And if you've never seen it before, tune in on Thursday. You'll enjoy watching it along with us. It technically is a horror film, but it's a horror comedy, so it's not like super intense. It kind of goes to some of the places that
like Tucker and Dale versus Evil, that sort of thing.
Well, not quite that funny. More like Scream.
Right.
You know,
okay.
like playing around with the tropes of the horror film and kind of poking fun at it, which kind of diffuses a little bit of the horror in a lot of cases.
Okay, that sounds like a fun time. But
Yeah.
didn't want to say hi to everybody else. A Canarble Fedora Mumbler logo. I guess that's what it is. Yes. FKHC 2005. Otherwise known as Tim. Welcome. And let me keep scrolling down while I stumble through this thing. Hold on. Why am I not seeing? I got to highlight everybody. You know what? I need my mouse, but I don't know where it is. Let me see. Anyway, I'll go in reverse. Leia Plus Size, welcome. Connie Cleary, welcome. Darth Plato, welcome. There we go. Deleted scenes. The saddest pumpkin ever. Yes, it is.
Netter's over there waving at me.
Let me see. Jessica Hardo, welcome. Horizon Talker, welcome. Curtis Selby, welcome. Netters Network, hello. Chris P, welcome. And Jonathan Conroy, welcome. And shocking. Well, it's a shocking week. You watched some shocking movies this month, didn't you? Were you about Psycho on Big House Channel?
We did.
That Norman Bates guy ain't right.
No. One might even say he's psycho.
Daniel Barry Sports Highlights, welcome. All right, so welcome everybody. And yeah, so this is Geeky Geezers, where we discuss the latest in geek news, which is not always geek news, but we try. Anyway.
Right, exactly.
All right, should I bring my lovely presentation up?
Go for it.
Let me see. All right, let's get rid of everything. Okay, and usually we start out these streams talking about the good
old days.
Yeah, that's where you say the good old days. And for tonight's good old days, we have scary stories to tell in the dark.
Yes, and what I want to do is send out. You know, if you are interested in scary stories, gosh, I can't speak. Scary stories to tell in the dark. You definitely have to check out YouTube channel. What's his name? John Solo. John Solo does a whole. He's got a whole playlist about scary stories. The whole channel is basically taking different folklore and kind of giving the back history on it, especially folklore that has inspired, whether it was Disney or, you know, in this case, Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark and so forth. In fact, with Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark, he's comparing the movie to the books,
right,
to the original folklore that they're based on.
Yes.
So all good stuff. And honestly, that's where I've gotten most of my knowledge about Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark, because I never actually read Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark.
Boo! Oh, you deprived person, you. This is, again, another one of these issues where Troy may be a little too older than me. So I'll explain to you. I might have been almost at the right age for these. I remembered being in middle school, and of course you have the annual book sale, right? Where they put some books out and you can purchase them. And it's one of the few times where you can get some money off your parents, say, hey, I'm having a book sale at school. Don't you want me reading? You know?
Right.
So maybe they'll give you some money to buy some books. And I see this book in the book sale. And I'm like, well, what is this? And I buy it. And oh my goodness.
Messed you up, did it?
This is probably the greatest children's books ever written. I mean, they're my favorite. I think if I think of children's books at the top of the list, I want to say audience for this is preteen. That's probably the right
probably.
age. Like not quite
Mhm.
teenager, though you can still enjoy them as a teenager, but not really too young either. This is a story about the big toe when the kid's in the garden, and the boy's in the garden. He sees this toe out of the ground. He can't get it out. He's like, he wants that toe, and he just gives it a good hard jerk, yanks it out of the ground. Then he takes it home. Mom says, "Okay, I'll heat it up. We'll have it for supper," as one would do.
Ew.
Right?
Ew.
And then as he's sleeping in his bed, he overhears a voice saying, "Where's my toe?"
Yeah.
Then he hears the steps coming out. The steps creaking and stuff, and the footsteps, and "Where's my toe?" And he puts the sheet over his head, and the thing goes, "Where's my toe? You got it." It's campfire tales. I didn't tell it as
yes, it is.
Does.
Exactly.
It's like, in fact, I remember one time I had a scoutmaster in the bookstore I worked at, and he's like, "Yeah, do you have any campfire stories, like ghost stories?" I said, "This," and I pointed him right to scary stories to tell in the dark. He was very happy. Because this is, of course, the quintessential. These are all taken from folklore. Look at that picture. You open up the book and you see that to your left.
Yeah, that's. The artwork really is good. Absolutely.
I want to say the artist's name is Stephen Gamel or something along those lines. Sorry, I had it. Actually, let's go back to the beginning. What does it say there? Art by Stephen Gamel. Yes, I got the name right. Never mind.
Yeah.
Okay. Anyway.
Collected from folklore. Yeah, and see, and as I was listening to the John Solo videos about this and hearing the basic stories, I was like, gosh, these sound a lot like stories I heard in Boy Scouts, right? Of course, the funny thing, too, is, at least, I don't know if this was true in all the Boy Scout troops, but back in my troop, we'd always get mixed in between the scary, folklore. We'd always have one that was kind of a joke, right?
Yes.
So have you ever heard the one where the guy's in the haunted house or whatever, and he hears from upstairs, "If this log rolls over, we'll drown"?
Ooh.
Do you know that one?
No.
I'll bet there's people in the chat here who know that one. "If this log rolls over, we'll drown." And he's going through the house trying to find and it's scaring the heck out of him because there shouldn't be anyone anywhere. Finally, he follows the sound to the upstairs bathroom, and inside the bathroom there's a number 2 there with two little mice on the trying to keep their heads above water. "If this log rolls over, we'll drown."
Oh, are you kidding me?
I kid you not. And of course we all laugh because that's not scary. That's just gross, and it's funny.
There are some of those in these books, the funny, scary stories where it's really just like, "I'm the Viper. I'll be coming up soon." Who's the Viper? The guy's in this office building. It's like the guy "I'm the Viper. I'll be coming up soon." Then finally he shows us, "I'm the Viper. I've come to vipe and wash the windows." It's not. I was asking you, these are AAA stories. The Big Toe story, that's actually taken, one of the original versions of that story is The Golden Arm, which was made famous by Mark Twain, though it probably predates him. Okay, the woman with the golden arm that's buried, I think, and someone wants to dig up the corpse to get that golden arm because it's gold, but wants the golden arm back. But there's some good stuff in here. That's from the story about the bride that's playing hide and seek on her wedding day, hides in a big chest in the attic. Lid comes down and she can't get out. Nobody can hear her screaming, and then finally they open it up months later and find her corpse.
Oh gosh!
It's okay. I forget what this is from. Look at this artwork, though, huh?
That the artwork alone is creepy. Yes.
The Viper story was also an episode of G.I. Joe. That's funny.
Yeah, I'm sure a lot of these have been tapped for different mediums.
Well, keep in mind that Alvin Schwartz, he did his own takes on these stories, but he has a full on. I'll say this is where I guess what the appendices in these books are excellent, because after you're done reading his stories, he'll tell you where they come from. And
Right. Yeah.
a lot of these are set
exactly.
in classic America, but they're actually from all around the world. A lot of these stories, like some
Right.
from France, one was from Sweden, so they actually come all around from all around the place. This is Harold. Oh my goodness, that's the Scarecrow. This was the scary one where the farm hands are, they create this dummy Harold to Scarecrow
Yep.
to scare the crows away. Then at night they
Yep.
bring him inside and they sit him down while they eat and they start pretending to give him funny voices, but then they start, throwing stew at him and laughing at him. And then eventually Harold starts to grunt and almost starts to move a little bit. They get freaked out. And I'm not going to tell you how this story ends.
Yep.
It's actually fairly creepy for a children's story. I forget what this one is. There are a few of them that have creepy abandoned churches in them. One of my favorite was the one about the woman that hears the bells for church, and she's like, "Whoa! I didn't realize I overslept." And she gets to church, and then she sees people in the church, and they look kind of odd. And then she recognizes someone and realizes that person died last year, and she realizes, "I'm in a service for the dead." And then they recognize that and I think her friend tells her this. They're like, "Look, you can't be here. Get out of here before they notice you're here." And then she starts to leave, and then they notice she's alive, and they start grabbing at her. And then I think when she goes to the church later, she finds the scarf one of them pulled from her, lying on the ground inside the church during.
Wow.
It's just, I don't know. That's a weird one. That's a comical one. That's about the guy wanting to sell knives. But here we go. Look at this artwork, though. But you never heard of these. These books, I'm sure, got into trouble. I know later editions changed the artwork, and I'm not here to pick on that artist because he had to tone down the artwork, but they weren't the same. And eventually they did re-release these with the original artwork. This was a favorite story of mine. This was about the girl that had to, I guess there was a haunted cemetery. I think she had to go up to the top of the hill and, put a knife in front of the grave to, show her friends that she'd been brave enough to go up there. And she does that, and then she can't get away. She's stuck there, and something's grabbing at her dress, and she's like, "No, no, no!" And she dies of fright. And then it turns out it was the knife she stuck in the ground, got caught in the dress, and that's why she couldn't move.
Yikes! Oh, that's terrible. That is
They tell
terrible.
it better in these books, obviously. Alvin Schwartz did the retellings. There are a lot of funny things. There's songs in this book. They actually even have the chords in there. I used to try playing them on the piano, like the Hearse song. Did you ever think, as a hearse goes by, that someday you may surely die?
Yeah.
And he had his own version of the lyrics in this, but he actually has the original oldest song lyrics of this. And the origin story of that song was it was being sung by, I think, an English soldier during World War I. That's where that originates from. Me Ty Doty Walker. This is a favorite of mine. Makes no sense. It's about this house that's haunted. Every night a bloody head falls out of the out from the chimney, and this rich guy in town is offering $200. Anyone will go up there, and this little boy says, "I'll go up there, but I want to bring my dog," and they agree. And let's just say there's a bit of a tussle of wills between the dog and the bloody head. I'm just gonna say that.
Wow. My goodness.
Dead Man's Brains. I believe that this is a redoing of the Halloween game where, everyone's blindfolded and you send the, what do you call it? The bowls around with the peeled eye, with the cold eyes and the bloody hand. And, you feel the stuff and you're like, ew, and, it turns out it's just, peeled grapes or the bloody eyes,
right.
Stuff like that. But, it's all good stuff. I forget what story this is from. They had this in the movie, though. I did see the movie when it came out in theaters. I still don't know how I feel about the movie. I don't hate it, because I think I understood what the director was trying to do, because these types of stories don't lend themselves to a feature-length movie. You just can't do it. So this was more about these stories exist in this world by this woman that wrote the book, and I think there's a curse on the book if you read the story or something, then the story gets reenacted in front of you and you get a victim to it, as I recall. Bowl of spaghetti. Yeah,
so in other words, they're basically telling the basic story from the book, but with the slant of the movie's framing concept.
Kind of, yeah. I mean, I actually I don't know. I should give the director props because I don't know if I could have done any better. It's just that I do think that certain things just work better as these really short tales that you tell around the campfire at a sleepover or something like that. That's what these are for. But these
Yeah.
pictures are great. Great hideous artwork. I mean, look at that. Do you remember the Star
Gosh.
Urban legend about the Chihuahua? Remember that was a
Yes.
sewer rat. That's
Yes.
this. That's the picture of that in this book. Would you confuse that for a dog?
Well, that's just it. It's like a rat is less, fear-inducing than this, and you bring this home as a pet? Really?
I'm curious. Did Netter ever see these books?
Some of them.
Yeah.
They have that. Your
I saw them in the library. I never, because I told you I volunteered in the library when I was in high school.
Right.
Never actually read them myself, but I saw them.
They're just a lot of fun. I have the audio versions, which are a lot of fun. You get to hear the them being told to. I think a lot of those are on YouTube. The audio versions too.
Yeah.
You can still purchase these books with the original artwork. I did try looking for them. For some reason, Amazon, they're charging $20 for it. On Walmart and Target, they're charging like $12.95 for all 3 books in a single hardback volume. So that's a pretty good deal. These were released as separate books. I got the first book, then I found more Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark, and then I found Scary Stories 3. A year or two later, I found Best of Scary Stories, and I'm like, what's this nonsense? Where is Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark book 4? Alvin Schwartz, you're being lazy. Go out and write another book. You're just living off the royalty of these first 3. Then I come to know, like in the last couple of years, he had died at that point. That's why we never got a 4th book. But what we got were great classics. These are just a lot of fun. Great for Halloween time or any time of year, to be honest with you. But it's a great little collection. This is, of course, a famous one. This is the one about the spider bite.
Yep. This one was
in the bathtub. Yep.
This one is literally talked about by John Solo in his very most recent video. If you go check out his channel, yeah.
Gotcha. I'll check it out. That one was featured in the movie too. So the ghost tank goes like this. Back during the days of the Cold War, and the Army got their hands on Soviet T-62 tank. They drove it out into an opening testing range. During the same time the Air Force was testing the prototype A-12, the pilot accidentally targeted T-62 and destroyed, killing the crew and the 40 men cannon. Oh,
wow.
There's more to that. Okay. There's more to that one. These books are chock full of stories, and it's great that they give the origin. So if you want to do investigating yourself and research, he's kind of giving you kind of a leg up on them. But,
well, it's really great for those of us that just are interested in folklore, to know the where these things came from, because sometimes that's as interesting as the story itself.
Yeah, but a lot of fun. Oh, part 3. It says that I'll give you a second, JP.
Yeah.
But you can still get these. You can buy them individually as 3 volumes in a set, or get them all in a hardback book, which I think is the preferred way. The only trouble with the hardback book is when you're reading it, you'll get to the index and appendices before the second part starts, so you get a little confused because it's basically literally just the 3 books put in there. They didn't like reorganize.
Bound together, yeah. Okay, that makes sense.
Each book was interesting, though. Each book had a different kind of host for the different sections. One had like this ghoulish hobo-looking guy, but like with a hat. Another one had a bat as the host, and another one had an old witch.
Interesting.
So it was actually rather neat. But
cool.
yeah. But anyway, great fun. I'm waiting to see if they're going to do a sequel to that movie, though. They said they were. And I'll say this for that movie: I did appreciate that they did do Mitai Dodie Walker, because that's one of my favorites in this collection. Because it makes no sense, but it's a lot of fun. The one about the dog in the head.
Right.
Here's another one from the book. The slithery D, it came out of the sea. It ate all the others, but it didn't eat me. The slithery D, it came out from the sea. It ate all the others, but it didn't eat me. The slithery D, it came out of the sea. It came out of the sea. It ate all the others, but it didn't. That's the gulping sound. Okay, that was
nice.
I think that's a Scottish thing. That's the
very
origin of that one.
I have a book that I actually took out of the library over and over and over again.
Yes.
And I can't remember exactly what it was called. It wasn't one of these books, but it had similar
Like a folklore book. Yeah.
And it had poems and it had, you know, jokes and stuff, all like on a Halloween theme, and it was something about the haunted house or something like that. I took it out so many times that at the end of the year, the librarians all took it, signed the inside cover, and gave it to me as a gift. And yeah, it was really cool. They said, "Look, you're the only one taking this book out. Go ahead, keep it." And there were some really great, some of the jokes I remember the best. Like, for example, what's the commonality or what's the similarity between a mummy's tomb and lemonade that has no sugar in it?
I don't know.
Sour cough, I guess. Yeah. Some of them are pretty bad, but it's still. I remember that all these years later. You know.
If you remember the name of that book, I'll try to dig it up somewhere.
Yeah, I'll look for it. Absolutely.
But Jesse Green, welcome. Boomer, I'm trying to eat over here. Well, is that from the slurping sound? Yeah, basically. Yeah. That's the slithery D. Okay, Jesse Gardo, part 3. Years later, according to some military personnel, they often report seeing a tank AT-62 with a red light on top, yet when people go out and look for it, it disappears. You know what? There's some strange stuff out there, right?
You know, one of the things that, not specifically related to this, but just in general talking folklore, John Solo's always talking about, I guess there's this categorization system for folklore, and they tend to take different types of stories and group them together. And I'll tell you, if there's a grouping like that, that tank story has got to fall under like the Flying Dutchman type story, right? Or all the haunted trains and stuff like that.
But people report those things, you know?
Sure.
Yeah, they do it in Japan. I listened to this one podcast called Kowabana. True Japanese ghost stories from the internet, if you want to believe in these things. And there's some weird ones on there. This lady from New Zealand does the translating because she speaks Japanese. She stayed over there for a while, so now she writes books and does this podcast about them.
Nice.
So you're hearing Japanese people with a New Zealand accent, right? That's what I think, but it's okay.
I guess.
But welcome everyone to Geeky Geezers. So that was our good old days. I figured I'd do something a little festive for Halloween. But where am I?
Now we're going to talk about death for Halloween.
Unfortunately, we are.
Yeah. These kind of stood out to me. So you guys are going to. Sometimes we bring these up, and you're like, "Who died?" But and I pretty much have to explain them. But
yeah, so first up is going to be. Oh, sorry. Give me a moment. Jack Jones of the Impossible Dream. And we know that song, don't we? In fact, I'm surprised you haven't sung it on some of your karaoke things.
I did one time, in fact. And it was this version that I did. His release version of The Impossible Dream from Man of La Mancha, it's just a little different. He changes the lyrics a little bit, which makes it more of a standalone song and less specifically tied to Don Quixote. But it's a beautiful, beautiful song. And of course, the younger among you might know him for singing "The Love Boat Soon Will Be Making Another Run." Yeah, that was Jack Jones.
I wonder what the buffet was like on the Love Boat.
I'm sure it was all you can eat, and it was probably pretty darn good food.
Yes.
At least that's what my grandmother said. She actually took a ride on the Pacific Princess.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yep.
Jack Jones, the silky grammar-winning crooner who had hits with Lollipops and Roses, Wives and Lovers, and The Impossible Dream before inviting TV viewers to set a course for adventure on the Love Boat, has died. He was 86. Yeah. Jones died Wednesday night at Eisenhower Medical in Rancho Mirage, California, after a 2-year battle with leukemia. His stepdaughter, Nicole Whitney, told The Hollywood Reporter. Jones was born into a showbiz family. His mother, Irene Hervey, was an Emmy-nominated actress who spent more than 50 years in film and on television. His father, tenor Alan Jones, portrayed the romantic male lead in Showboat from 1936 and in Marx Brothers, A Night at the Opera and A Day at the Races. And he managed a hit song of his own with The Donkey Serenade For 8 seasons and more than 200 episodes of ABC's The Love Boat, starting in 1977, Jones extolled the virtues of romance on the high seas. Love, exciting and new, come aboard, we're expecting you, was this theme song for the Aaron Spelling-produced series. Dionne Warwick took over in Season 9. Featuring words and music by Charles Fox and Paul Williams, the tune added a new layer to Jones' decades-long career. Because of the Love Boat theme, everything was great on ships after that. Jones told Las Vegas Magazine in 2016, I did 6 weeks a year. They gave me the best suite on the ship, and it was the SS Norway. We just had a great time. I'm sure he made bank just being booked on those cruise ships, right? Think about it.
I would imagine, yeah.
Jones released the Love Boat theme as a single in 1979, and a cover of Barry Manilow's Ready to Take a Chance Again on the B-side, and the song became a concert staple. And that didn't mean he wasn't above poking fun at it. In Airplane 2, the sequel, 1982, he can be seen performing the theme song in a cameo as a tuxedo-clad lounge singer. And when Sandra Bullock gets ready for virtual sex with Sylvester Stallone in Demolition Man in 1993, she sets the mood by playing his song. I love that scene in Demolition Man.
I do too, yeah.
Because Stallone's not liking that at all.
No. Well, it even though it's funny, I think something that makes it even a little bit more funny, gives it a little bit of another dimension, is if you think about it from the point of view of A Man Out of Time, right?
Yeah.
The things that, the way another generation might interpret a cultural touchstone might be very different than the way you would have in your own time, you know?
Like you're not getting it, basically, right?
Yes, exactly.
And this happens, I hate to say this, sometimes with the kids liking the stuff from the 80s and 90s, and it's like, now I know what the older folks were saying about the 60s stuff, you know? It's like you're
kinda
getting it, but it's okay. I'm not going to try to ruin your fun, all right? That's how I feel.
Right.
Known for his breezy ladies man persona on stage, Jones was married 6 times, most notably to actress Jill St. John for slightly more than a year in the late 60s. Lucky man. I know you're not a fan, though, right? But he was also romantically linked to actress Susan George in 1959. Jones landed his first recording contract with Capitol Records, which released his debut album, The Love of Mine. And that was his sprightly rendition of the Steve Allen composition, This Could Be the Start of Something Big. Capitol, which was trying to turn Jones into a rockabilly singer, dropped him. The Capitol Records picked him up, and he struck gold right out of the gate with Lollipops and Roses, recorded while he was on 2 weeks leave from the Air Force Reserve. Romantic ballad by Tony Vallona, it proved to be ideal for Jones' velvety tones. The single reached number 12 on Billboard's Adult Contemporary chart, earned him a Grammy in 1962 for Best Male Solo Vocal Performance, and made him an heir apparent to Frank Sinatra. After he found success a year later with Call Me Irresponsible, which Sinatra had recorded, Jones collected another Grammy in 1964 for Wives and Lovers. The bouncy Burt Bacharach, Hi David composition rose to number 14 on Billboard's Hot 100, was nominated for Record of the Year, but lost to Henry Mancini's Days of Wine and Roses. It goes on to say, a Las Vegas headliner for seven decades. He released more than 50 albums during his career, continued to perform into his 80s. I want a song to make the audience laugh or make it cry, make a very poignant statement, Jones said. Like John Sebastian's I Had a Dream, the lyric starts, I had a dream. I dreamt we were all right. That's such a wonderful thought. So rest in peace. I mean, I'm sure you know him from The Love Boat and other things, right?
Well, yeah. I mean, obviously I knew him from The Love Boat. In fact, there's one reference to that Love Boat tune that they didn't do in the... I want to say, what was it, the 80s? Yeah, that had to be when Growing Pains was on. There's this great bit where Alan Thicke, who is also a singer, makes a phone call, and he gets, he's on hold or something, and it's the Love Boat theme. And I just thought that was kind of funny, making that television connection.
Yeah. But rest in peace. I can't think of Airplane 2 when I hear the Love Boat theme, Chris P. says.
Yeah.
But were you a big fan of the Love Boat? Did you watch it all the seasons?
I
didn't realize it went on to the 80s.
Yeah, that last season with Dionne Warwick, I was not watching. No.
Okay.
But I watched a lot of the earlier ones. I really did enjoy it. It's gotten a bad reputation, I think, because I think people tend to misremember something about it. They oftentimes say, "Oh, well, that was the show where all the has-been actors were the guest stars," and in some cases that was true. But in other cases, it was the young unknowns that went on to become big stars. And you might be surprised by how many of some of your favorite actors of today started out with a guest appearance on The Love Boat. We were just last Friday talking about the phenomenon of the variety show and how oftentimes guest appearances or even a hosting of a variety show was given to somebody to fulfill a contract with the network. Well, sometimes that's what these, in quotes, has-been actors were. They had a show that got canceled, or they were supposed to be
right.
Yeah, exactly. That's why he showed up so many times. When you're under contract with a studio and they have nothing else to do with you, they'll put you in a variety show. Well, the variety shows kind of died by the early 80s. So things like The Love Boat, Fantasy Island, there was a number of shows like that where they were kind of anthology stories. You had the framing element of The Love Boat being, your regular cast, of employees of the cruise line, but then you had like 3 or 4 individual stories about guests that are on that particular cruise. Sometimes they crossed over and whatnot, and you might be interested in this romantic story, but not so much in that one. And it was fine, everyone found something that they'd be interested in. Well, that's and that was a great. Florence Henderson was one who showed up a lot, who was also in the show on Friday. So a lot of these, you might call them has-beens. I call them continuing to work.
There you go. And people make comebacks. Remember, people were picking on Brendan Fraser for a while. No, everyone can't stop talking about him now. So it's
exactly.
People have slumps in their career and they come back. Appointment in Samara. A merchant walking to the street sees the Grim Reaper in the street, then flees the other way. Going into his show, he collects some items and then moves to leave. Hold on. Go.
Wow.
Oh, wait, we're not done yet. His assistant asks, "Where are you going?" "I have an appointment in Samara. I need to leave now." Then he leaves. An hour later, the Grim Reaper walks into the shop. The assistant asks, "Ugh, how can I help you?" The Grim Reaper says, "I'm just killing time. I have an appointment in Samara soon." You've heard of that one, right?
Yeah.
The idea was he's trying to avoid death, but death is going to go where he's going to, never mind.
Exactly right.
Anyway, let's move on to...
Nate made a great point, and he brought up the examples of some of the ones I was talking about. Michael J. Fox, Tom Hanks, and Ray Liotta were all on The Love Boat before you even knew who they were. Yep.
Yes. Connie Cleary, not a fan of The Love Boat. I know, you're more of a Fantasy Island person. I'm kidding. Anyway, to play.
The thing about Fantasy Island was it was on after my bedtime, so it was very rare I got to see Fantasy Island.
And it's starring
It was The Love Boat on dry land.
Kind of. It kind of was. You're right.
You know what, I'm thinking maybe there'll be a Fantasy Island Good Old Days coming up if we've not done it already. Maybe we did do it already. I don't know. But here we go. Some sad news submitted by Mark Malnikoff. Actually, he tipped us off to this. This was a late-breaking story this weekend. But, Jeri Taylor, Star Trek Voyager co-creator, dies at 86.
Yep. And not everyone was a big Voyager fan when it came to Trek. Voyager was kind of a throwback to the original series, episodic kind of a thing.
Right.
It also got accused of kind of drawing on the concept of Battlestar Galactica, the ship all by itself trying to get back home, and
right.
Like the kind of the opposite of the wagon train.
Lost in Space.
Or Lost in Space, that's another. But be that as it may, it's one of those series that history has remembered a little bit better, because there's actually a lot of great lore that came out of Voyager that people forget it actually came from Voyager. The holographic Doctor, Seven of Nine, a lot of elements of Borg lore that was post TNG.
It had a great finale too, as I recall, right?
Yeah, I mean, a little controversial in the way you want it to be, because it's not. There after Deep Space Nine, you started to get into a lot of the. I don't want to call it moral ambiguity. It really wasn't, but it would test the audience a little bit. It would challenge you with, do the ends justify the means? The greater good, blah blah blah. To survive, do you compromise your principles and things like that?
Remember, they found another Starfleet ship that was trying to get further ahead by attacking a sentient life form.
Yeah, they were literally cannibalizing.
Yeah. Yes.
Well, sort of indirectly cannibalizing a life form.
Yes.
Yeah.
In a way, and
they're like, you cannot do that.
Yes.
We swear an oath, to give our lives not to do this thing.
Yeah.
And they're like, well, who are you to judge us? And
And now at the end, Janeway in some ways did something controversial. She's breaking time laws. She's saying,
exactly. She absolutely does.
Okay, so it's going to be another 10, 15 years before you get home, and there will be casualties, a lot of casualties. And she goes to her past self and says, "This is the best way to get home." And I think she gave your past self some technology. You save your.
But it's even worse than that, though. Yeah. There was another element there. She was literally lying to her younger self because her primary motivation was she wanted to get Voyager back sooner to save Tuvok, who was dying from some Vulcan malady that he needed treatment for, but they had to get him back to Vulcan before it was too late. And it's like the needs of the one don't outweigh the needs of the many, and I think Tuvok even tried to communicate that to her.
But I think of that though, and I think that's a very Kirk thing to do, though, what she was doing there. Think about it.
Yeah.
That's not what a Picard would do. That's,
exactly.
Yeah, that's not okay, but
I also felt that was and we always did that, right? We would compare Picard, we'd say something about Picard, Kirk wouldn't do that. And then I loved when people would do that with Sisko, because they actually had an episode with Q saying, Picard never this, that, and the other. And he's like, well, I'm not Picard. It's like, yes.
Sisko didn't like Picard.
Well, he had reason. He had reason not to. And that's good writing, right? Because your hero characters don't always need to like each other, because they're gonna have different perspectives. Let's face it.
He sees the
Sisko.
He sees the person responsible for his wife's death. That's what he sees.
Exactly.
Yes.
That's exactly right.
Yes.
And not only that, but from his perspective, no consequences for it either. And I love the fact that the whole opening for Deep Space... I think Deep Space Nine had the best opening episodes of all of the... because you were hooked from the beginning. Now, I got a little mired down after that. I was like, this does not hold up to the pilot in the first couple episodes.
Well,
you know what I mean? But boy, you cared about those characters right from the beginning, and they eventually came back around to starting to explore those elements that you loved about these characters. Voyager was more... You get hooked into these characters, but you very quickly have to change your opinions about the character. You form certain gut instincts about these characters from the pilot episode, but by the end of the pilot episode, definitely into the second episode, the whole paradigm is shifted. They have to work together. They have to change their own opinions of each other. So you have to start rethinking these characters as well. Like I said, it started out great. It kind of went meandering a little bit, but boy, once they brought the Klingons in, the Dominion War, all that kind of stuff, that just shot it up to 11. And it took it to places that no other Trek had been before.
There were actual
because
stakes.
now you're...
There
Pardon
were
me?
actual stakes. There were actual stakes.
Well, an actual war.
Yeah.
Every other Trek had talked about historic wars, whether real or, just the generation before.
Yes.
Even within the span of the early Deep Space Nine, you had Miles O'Brien talking about having served in a war against the... Was it against the Cardassians? Yeah.
The Federers War of the Cardassians. That's why I think they were on friendly relations with Bajor, at least, because of that whole thing. They had got... I don't know how they got involved, but they had got...
And it was a weird kind of Cold War, after that and whatnot, which really set the political situation going through it. But then you have a full-out war with, the Dominion and everything, and the shapeshifters and everything. That was some darn good television.
There was...
And
I remember the episode where the Obsidian Order and the Tal Shiar joined forces, and they were going to wipe out the Founders. Remember that?
Yeah.
And
yes,
then it was like, fooled you, and they get wiped out. And these two big organizations that have been on all the new Trek were gone after that. Remember that? That was a big
That's exactly
deal.
right.
They were basically their secret police of both societies, right? Romulus and Cardassia. Sorry, spoiler alert if you've not seen Deep Space Nine.
This 30-year-old series, if you haven't seen it,
Yeah, so there was some good stuff on Deep Space Nine, and even Voyager. I mean, I should go back and rewatch a lot of these old Star Trek shows. I always saw Voyager and DS9 in pieces. Like, I would start watching, then I get interrupted, so I should really just sit them. I got to tell you, the Paramount, you need to go back and do an HD remastering of these shows like you did with TNG.
Absolutely. The hard one for me was Deep Space Nine. The reason I saw it all out of order and missed a lot of episodes and stuff was because trying to watch it here in syndication in the Midwest was challenged, in the Chicago area anyway.
Yes.
Because whereas what's it called? Next Gen and Voyager and whatnot were carried on the UPN network. The Deep Space Nine was carried on WGN here, the channel that carried the baseball games. I can't remember if it was the Sox or the Cubs or whoever it was. So during the season, Deep Space Nine was always being interrupted by the sports. And they'd say, due to, the game, Deep Space Nine will not be presented tonight. You can catch Deep Space Nine at a special time on this day at this time. Okay. And it was usually after I go into bed, I'd be like, it would be a really special time? The time it's supposed to be shown, damn it.
You know what we'll do next week? We'll do Deep Space Nine for good old days. Because we
that would be fun, yeah.
Yes.
Absolutely.
All right. But we should talk about, unfortunately...
A little bit about Voyager so that we can talk a little bit about its co-creator here, yeah.
Voyager, yeah. And Voyager, like I said, that was the... many people thought that they were rushing these series out too much, but Jeri Taylor, a writer, producer, co-creator of Star Trek Voyager, has passed away at age 86. Star Trek designer and consultant Michael Okuda shared the news of Taylor's passing on social media, stating, Taylor passed away on Thursday, October 24th, and then sharing a touching tribute. You can find his full statement below. Our thoughts are with Taylor's family and friends. On Instagram, Okuda wrote, the world of Star Trek lost one of its giants yesterday with the passing of writer Jeri Taylor. Jeri became a supervising producer on Star Trek TNG's fourth season, eventually becoming co-producer with Rick Berman and Michael Piller. She co-created Star Trek Voyager, on which she served as executive producer. Jeri brought humanity and compassion to her work and to Star Trek. Her scripts include The Drumhead from TNG, which
that was a good one.
What was The Drumhead about, if you want to go into
that? The Drumhead was the one, it was basically a witch hunt looking for Romulan infiltrators in the Federation. So anybody who had pointed ears and was had some Romulan. There's this one kid that was being grilled and interrogated because he had pointed ears. He was part Vulcan. Well, it came to turn out that his grandfather was Romulan or something like that. And Picard is like, well, just because his family has he's got some Romulan blood doesn't mean he's And it was going after the whole McCarthyism kind of thing,
Yeah. And I remember the when she says, "I've taken down bigger men than you, Picard." Remember that?
Yeah, exactly.
That was a powerful episode. But I'm sad that she's passed on. We're losing a lot of actors and singers, and we lose a lot of great writers too. And it's
You
sad.
know, and you know, the reason I thought that it was important to mention Jeri Taylor is especially now at this time when we're talking about what's happened to Star Trek and how they don't know how to write these stories, and they don't know how to tell stories that deal with moral conundrums that make you think, that make you care. All they're doing is they're writing stories that make you roll your eyes and piss you off and not want to watch anymore.
Like having some guy named Gene get disassembled in some machine in front of
Exactly.
everybody.
Exactly.
It's ridiculous. It's like, come on. But no.
Yeah, like we don't know what it is you're obviously getting at. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. Say no more. Say no more.
But go back and watch the classic Star Treks. I know that these are available on DVD. I think they're on streaming platforms like Paramount Plus. Again, Paramount, maybe stop spending so much money on crap and do a remaster of Deep Space Nine and Voyager. Enterprise is okay because they were already thinking of HD when they were making that show. So, but yeah. Hollywood now has no morals, so they can't write them. I hate to say this. This is why they identify with villains so much. You know?
Yeah.
This is why, if there was a real life Superman, he'd be going around, butchering people for kicks. No, that's not what he would be like. That you don't understand because the rest of the country isn't like you. Are we at Nic Cage already?
Yes, we are.
Holy cow! Okay.
Yes, we are. So we're going to talk about speaking of. What might have at one time been considered sci-fi, we're talking about AI now and how it's impacting the entertainment industry.
Nicolas Cage took to the stage at the 25th Newport Beach Film Festival on Sunday to urge up-and-coming actors from giving into pressure from employers opting to use artificial intelligence to change or otherwise manipulate their performance. The veteran A-lister was making a speech ahead of his Icon Award reception during the Fetties Honors branch taking place at the Balboa Bay Resort, which also featured honorees like June Squibb, Marion Jean-Baptiste, Sarah Lee Ralph, Coleman Domingo, and more. Film performance, to me, is very much a handmade, organic, from-scratch process, the Longlegs actor said while uplifting young actors. It's from the heart, it's from the imagination, it's from thoughts and detail and thinking and honing and preparing. He continued, there is a new technology in town. It's a technology that I didn't have to contend with for my 42 years until recently. But these 10 young actors, this generation most certainly will be, and they are calling it EBDR. This technology wants to take your instrument. We are the instruments as film actors. We are not hiding behind guitars and drums. Employment-based digital replica, or EBDR, is one of the two digital replicas permitted by the SAG-AFTRA deal struck with the Alliance of Motion Pictures and Television Producers or Studios after the conclusion of the dual Hollywood strikes in fall 2023. This type of generative AI is created through the performer's physical participation for a specific project under the terms of employment, while EBDR's rules negate the draw of cost-saving measures for AI, as in employees who work less days as a result of EBDR will still be paid for the EBDR days. They are differing rules for Schedule F performers who make over $80,000 for a film and are assumed to have the leverage necessary to negotiate their own terms. The studios want this so they can change your face after you've already shot. They can change your face. They can change your voice. They can change your line deliveries. They can change your body language. They can change your performance, Cage cautioned. As an example, the action star said his cameo appearance in 2023's The Flash was an example of EBDR. I'm asking you, if you're approached by a studio to sign a contract permitting them to use EBDR in your performance, I want you to consider what I am calling MVMFMBMI. My voice, my face, my body, my imagination, my performance and response. He concluded, protect your instrument. This is the first time Cage has vocalized his stance against AI and his fear of how it will be utilized to undercut performers' work in Hollywood. During a July conversation with The New Yorker, he said, God, I hope not AI. I am terrified of that. I've been very vocal about it, and it makes me wonder, where will the truth of the artists end up? Is it going to be replaced? Is it going to be transmogrified? Where's the heartbeat going to be? I mean, what are you going to do with my body and my face when I'm dead? I don't want you to do anything with it. All right. Got any thoughts?
Well, before I get to my...
I did.
Yeah, before I get to my thoughts, I see that there's some really good points being brought up in the chat here. Matt Inouye says the problem is this AI crap is inevitable. You're kind of right, but I would focus on the AI crap, right? So in other words, we're going to get mediocrity. If we start to rely on AI, we'll never have greatness anymore. And if it is inevitable, that is incredibly, incredibly sad. Space Fraggle says, remember Disney and Peter Cushing.
We've talked about this.
We've talked about it, and this is a great example of, and there's a lot of nuance here. I've learned a lot since we talked about it a couple weeks back. But it has to do with rights-related issues on this stuff. And the law is still catching up with the technology. We're going to see more and more of that going forward as well. But then using EBDR films wouldn't be eligible for awards. That's an excellent point. Because, for example, some of the artwork that I use in the thumbnails and a lot of the stuff that I'm seeing in the content that other YouTubers put out is AI generated. And why do we do that? Well, we don't have to pay royalties for that stuff, you know? But then, yeah, by the same token, that would mean that it's not eligible for, you know, an AI cannot, you know, generatively create something and get an award for it, right? A creeping mediocrity. That's absolutely it. Yep. There's nothing new. Nietzsche didn't know about artificial intelligence, but it's absolutely true. And but here's the nuance of it, right? And I'm gonna. It's hard for me to say I'm playing devil's advocate because I'm not truly taking an opposing viewpoint.
You're just trying to be a non-biased.
I'm taking a moderating perspective because I'm not in any way in favor of AI, but I would argue the right tool for the right job, right?
Fine.
And I would say Nicolas Cage. What happens when we want to digitize you so that we can capture your performance but de-age you? Or have a flaming skull character that as closely as possible portrays your emotions through your performance. Not undermining your performance, but allowing your performance to come through. What happens if you in the dailies look at something and go that you're not happy with it? That's not what you intended. You didn't realize what was coming through the camera. They go, do you want to reshoot it? You have the option to go, is that something you can tweak? Yeah, we can tweak that for you. Now they're doing something that you want them to do with your performance.
Yeah.
There is nuance to all of these things. And, you know, as we start getting into this, we will be talking about the idea of someone who, you know, has an accident and is unable to perform or passes away and cannot complete their role. Maybe it could be completed using AI and your estate still benefits from it because it is your...
Like Paul Walker in Fast and the Furious.
Exactly.
But I thought they did something clever with Paul Walker. They actually had his brothers do stand-ins for him, which I thought was interesting because they had a similar look to him, and I thought that was interesting.
Yeah, exactly. So, well, the benefit to that from the AI standpoint is you don't have to have such intricate, you know, work to make it look right? But, Yeah, these are the kinds of things that I don't think it's one size fits all. And I think this is the same problem that we often see with lawmakers. Trying to make a law to address a specific problem that you have and making blanket statements that have repercussions that you don't intend. The way this needs to be handled is the individual actor and their individual representatives need to form contracts that are conducive to what they want. You need to be able to say, for example, just as an actor goes in and says, I want final say on script, and I want, whatever things you go in and demand in your contract, that's how you handle these AI things. And you say, any use of AI to change my appearance or whatever, I need to approve before you can use it.
Yes.
And you negotiate that. And if they're not willing to do it, then you walk away from the role. This is how negotiations work. This is the way it's always worked. It's not new because it's AI. It's just a different element to be negotiated.
Hate to say it, but the past belongs to the dead. The moment belongs to us. So I'm not, in principle, against using the likeness of dead actors. But I would argue, I want the new classic actors to be discovered. That's another reason I have this. So
this is another one of those nuanced elements that we were talking about.
Like,
because
I'd love to recreate Deborah Paget, but we're the new Deborah Pagets,
Right. Well, and I agree. I agree with what Darth Plato's saying. Very much, and I know this, you and I have butted heads on this in a jovial, jocular kind of way. I think I play the devil's advocate a little too much more than I believe just for the play of it. I agree with you that I don't like the idea of resurrecting dead actors with AI. My point was more, you're in the middle of a single film and you die. We need to finish this film. I know. I firmly believe, however, that you don't even need to wait till an actor dies. I would say when they age out of the role, go ahead and recast that role. I think they should have done that with Indiana Jones years ago. I think back after 2, maybe 3 movies with Harrison Ford, they should have gone with Brandon Fraser. And then after he got 2 or 3 movies, go with, I don't know, somebody else.
Yeah, but we got Brendan Fraser for The Mummy, so that's close enough.
Well, no, I get that. That's
almost
some other actor then, right? It didn't have to be him. I'm just saying some other actor.
Yeah, a lot of people did like the use of Cushing in Rogue One. Apparently the Cushing estate has some problems with that, though. Just like an actor can say in the contract they're not doing nude scenes, they can also say they don't digitize. They can. I know certain actors, I think, have given away everything, like Mark Hamill. I think
that's actually Nate makes a great point, because when an actor says, "I won't do a nude scene," they've had very clever ways of getting around that, using body doubles, or wasn't it Jessica Alba in Sin City? She wouldn't do a nude scene, but they digitally made her nude. And that begs the question, why is that? How is that different? Not literally showing my nude body, but making everyone think they've seen my nude body is somehow better?
I remember her being nude in that movie. Maybe it was the second.
Maybe it wasn't that. Maybe it was a different movie. But...
Okay. I remember Carla Gugino showed some of herself in that movie, which we appreciate.
But there's a lot of movies like that where you think you've seen, like, what was the one that Nicolas Cage actually did a remake of? The Wicker Man. Was it Ursula Andress that was in the original?
Yes.
Yeah, she didn't do a nude scene in that movie.
No, not Ursula Andress. Britt Eklund.
Britt Eklund, right?
Yeah.
Britt Eklund. That was not Britt Eklund that you saw her bits of.
Doing the tormenting the
right
in the other room.
That was a body double, But everyone thinks that they saw Britt Eklund in that movie.
How did you miss what? Britt Eklund naked in the Wicker Man? They're different cuts, but it wasn't really her anyway. Okay. Anyway.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It wasn't even really her.
Thinking Ursula Andress. No, I'm sure. Yes, I understand. It was Machete, not Sin City. Okay, it was Machete. Okay, that's right.
Yeah, I didn't see either one of those movies, so I don't know. But
they're funny.
But there you go. Oh, I want to see both of them, but they're
good. They're great fun. But moving on.
Oh wait, just real quick before you go on, I did want to drop this one link that is related to this previous article, and that's Miyazaki. How do you pronounce his first
Hayao
name?
Miyazaki's thoughts on AI.
Yeah.
Now, to be fair, Hayao Miyazaki is a curmudgeon.
I think he's earned the right to be a curmudgeon.
He's a brilliant animator. He is one of the top living animators today. But he did not. You'll see this little conversation when the younger Japanese animators, they say, we want a machine we want the computer to do the animation for us. That's what they said point blank to him and Isao Takahata, and he's just stunned by that. And it's like a generational divide over there. So even in Japan, they're having this conversation.
Well, I mean, and let's face it, you got to kind of understand Japanese culture when it comes to this. I mean, that's the difference between having an artisan make modern katana swords, and which I know that's redundant. Katana literally means sword,
right?
But or having machines mass produce them, and maybe even using materials that make them, sturdier and stronger and sharper. Maybe, I don't know. But there is something to be said for tradition, and there is an element that will never be the same as what a true artisan can do. Look, I'm telling you, I've eaten enough processed food in my life, and just recently gotten some really good food from Amos Miller's Organic Farms.
Excellent.
In Pennsylvania.
Right. Amish.
They
family-run business with no preservatives. The difference is night and day. It's amazing. Not a sponsored stream, by the way.
Treat yourself sometime. If you ever have an Amish restaurant in your area, check it out. It's you'll be thankful.
Absolutely, the Amish know how to eat, and let's face it, they're way healthier than we are too.
Yeah, they are. Yeah. But I did want to make a point, though, about we're talking about AI, and it's not the same. And I'm thinking, but who's using AI images on your Friday streams? It's me. Or some of my presentations. You know why? Because the problem is if I have to do a picture of a black cat, I can take it from Google and just do a random search for a black cat. But then I'm worried: could this be a copyright?
That is always the concern.
I mean, AI thing, and now I own it. Now it's mine, or at least I don't have to worry about me being struck for something that the thing made for me. Do you understand? So exactly
right. Yeah. I'm just putting up a generic image to illustrate what I'm talking about. I'm not looking to make some awesome piece of art or whatever, and I want to be able to do it without getting hit with some sort of a copyright claim or something.
Listen. So what if there's a few extra fingers on that hand? Come on. Apparently, Facebook is filled with AI crap on it.
It is, and you know who's been talking a lot about it is the Metatron, because there are whole channels dedicated to like Roman history and Greek history and whatnot, and all it is AI generated crap. And you're talking about extra fingers and legs. Right? Well, they do the same thing with the details of the history that they're putting in, because they're pulling it from who knows how many sources and sometimes confabulating it, not giving any citations, and we're talking about actual history. And it's like, no, that's wrong. That's wrong. That was never true. I know a lot of people believe that, but that's not true.
Yeah, he has a complaint about the bracelets too in Hollywood productions on Roman soldiers. No, bracelets. Stop
At least he's honest. He's like, I know, I'm being pedantic, but
he gets angry.
Okay, I'm not going to talk about.
No historical record for that. If they did have a bracelet, it'd be like a metal bracelet of a fine metal. It wouldn't be some leather thing they'd have on their arm. Where it came from? It's like
Jonathan brings up a great point about Shadiversity.
Right.
Shad does some great AI artwork, but he is one of the first ones to point out, just like I have, AI art is a tool. I would say that 99% of the artwork that you see in my thumbnail that I say is AI generated it only starts out that way. I then have to go and do all kinds of my own work to it. Maybe it's fixing the hands and the feet, for example. But sometimes this is really close to what I wanted, but it's not quite right. Let me go in and, it's kind of like how many comic book artists have traced over someone else's work, and then they go in and then they change the uniform and they change the hairstyle and At what point is it referencing and is it directly stealing? You still have to put your own effort and art into it.
But it's hard.
Yeah.
Speaking of hard, of something,
gosh.
Let's talk about this. Come on. I don't know. I've been dragging our feet on this article. Post the link.
Yeah,
I know you're excited. I'm excited. You and I are both big DC fans.
Well, we have been talking for the longest time about what is going on with the Gunn-verse. What is the new canon going to be to this? How much of the old Snyderverse is going to carry over? Any of it? None of it? We know some of it is because he's keeping Peacemaker around. So,
I'm going to read, and then we can comment. James Gunn clarifies how the DC Universe will deal with the various DC Expanded Universe plot points in DC Studios' major reboot. While the DC Universe Chapter 1, Gods and Monsters, slate will, for the most part, act as a fresh launch for a new franchise, a few elements from the DCEU will be carried over into the reboot. A key example is Peacemaker Season 2, which features John Cena and multiple cast members from the Max TV show back, but is part of the DC Universe this time round. At this year's New York Comic-Con, with Screen Rant in attendance, Gunn and the Creature Commandos cast were present to promote the beginning of the new DC Universe. During the panel, Gunn addressed how the upcoming DC Universe franchise will deal with the canonical DCEU events in the fresh continuity, sharing the following. We learned that other things have happened in the past and other media have still happened. There are references to things that happened in the past, and those references then become canon in the DCU because we mention them. So, for instance, maybe they'll mention someone's neck getting snapped in Metropolis or something like that by Superman. Is that what he's talking about? Maybe not specifically. Is he picking and choosing what's going to be referenced, and can we assume the other stuff didn't happen?
If you want me to put a fine point on what I think he's saying, he's going, I'm making it up as we go along.
Then just start fresh. Here's the deal. In the Justice League movie, there's a line where Bruce Wayne, like Alfred says, "Oh, this is a much bigger deal than you dealing with exploding penguins," or something like that. And I'm like, you could take that as a reference to Batman Returns, or maybe something similar happened in this universe. Do you understand?
Yeah.
And it's a reference, but it's not. But what James Gunn's DCU canon comments mean for future DC releases, given that the DCEU was a very polarizing continuity, it doesn't feel like a lot from the now concluded universe will play major factors in the DC universe. That said, someone like Viola Davis, Amanda Waller in her Waller spinoff series will likely maintain most, if not all, of her DCEU history, as she was one of the characters who worked the best in that world. Gunn's DC Universe is considered something of a clean slate, suggesting connections to prior DCU events won't be made extensive and will likely be made clear earlier on, so the new continuity can then build a fresh path forward. How is it a fresh path forward if it's repeating past events?
and I think it also falls down to and we've made this comment about previous things that Gunn has said. We think we know what he means, but if that's what he means, he is communicating it very, very, very badly. My thought is, and I've always thought this is the way it should be. You don't have to reboot. You just go ahead and reboot, and you can make reference to things that happened previously if they happen to every Superman, right? If Superman's parents die and, he's adopted by the Kents and then they die and, there's all these things that are true always about Superman, right? So if he makes a reference to that, he could be referring to the events of Man of Steel or the Richard Donner Superman or the comic books. Doesn't matter. It's all the same. It's the same that they basically did with the Tom Holland Spider-Man. If you want to believe that he's the continuation of Tobey Maguire or any other Spider-Man that you watch, that's fine. We're not going back and doing his origin story again. You already know that. We're kind of going on from here. But the specific details of this adventure with Darkseid and that and the other, maybe we just ignore all that, right? And you don't know until, the next time Darkseid shows up and it's the first time Superman's meeting him. Well, I guess that means that Man of Steel and all that story didn't happen, right?
It's this sort of thing that drives me nuts, though, because I'm wondering, the Tom Holland Spider-Man, does Uncle Ben exist in that universe? I've never heard him mentioned once. Maybe he did exist, and maybe he was married to Aunt May, and he died tragically, like in the comics and the Tobey Maguire and Garfield movies. But we don't know because he's not mentioned.
I would argue that
singled. They don't.
But that's like
never
saying.
Mention him.
But that's like saying we got this new corn sweat Superman. We don't even know if he's Kryptonian or not because they're not showing him coming from Krypton. Look, there's certain things you have to assume happened, whether they mention it or not.
All right.
Okay,
so for example, it has already been established, clarified, none of the Justice League actors from the DCU timeline went back for the DC Universe. However, outside of David Cornsweet's Superman film and the direction for the Brave and the Bold story, whether or not their DC Universe counterparts have histories similar to those of previous universes remain to be seen. This would actually be a good point in time where you kind of start getting your actors out and try hyping this movie. It comes out this summer.
Yeah.
Waiting for the new year, maybe. Because I have to tell you,
actually, this is gonna. I think this is gonna be what I'm about to say. I don't think many people are gonna agree with me, but if you think about it, I think it's got some merit. You have to first have Gunn knowing the answer to these questions. He's got to know what is and is not canon. He's got to talk it through with the actors of these characters, and he's got to tell them, okay, Corn Sweat. All this stuff that you saw in the other guys, only this, and this applies to you. The rest didn't happen, okay? Here, read this comic, because I'm going to consider that to be canon. And maybe mention a few other things, so that then when Cornsweat goes out and starts answering questions at conventions, he could do the whole, I'm not supposed to talk about that, and then accidentally slip something and say, that's, I wasn't supposed to say it. I think I'm going to get in trouble. This is a great way to build fan interest that tells everybody they know what's canon. They know their own characters.
Maybe.
That would be great marketing, but they're not that intelligent.
They need to get the hype train going now, especially after Joker, fillet of Dookie or whatever it was called.
I guess.
I'm going to say something else too. What I thought, I just dawned on me now. I don't know. I had a friend in college many years back who were talking about what the Dark Knight Rises was going to be, and they said they saw like a leak script online or something. It was going to be about a trial for the Joker. And it was going to have Harley Quinn in it as well. And then I'm thinking this Joker 2 was a trial for Arthur Fleck, who was the Joker, I guess, in that movie, and Harley Quinn is in it. And sometimes I wonder if some of these grand ideas we're dealing with are just recycles. Like this Brave and the Bold movie, I knew they were planning to do a Ben Affleck Batman movie, which I think would have featured Deathstroke as the villain, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I think I heard that maybe he might be and I think even though they didn't say he's going to be the villain in this Brave and the Bold, it wouldn't shock me if Deathstroke is going to be the villain in this Batman movie they're making for the Gunn-verse, because I think they're tied up and they can't use any Batman villains because of this other the Pattinson Batman movies, right? So I don't know.
I can't speak with any specificity, but I can speak in general terms about these things, because the fact is that. Yes, when they own a script, whether they use it or not, they own the script, and they will mine it for resources later on. The problem is that where that idea originally came from might have been a really, really good idea, but what they ended up doing with it really, really sucks, right? Because in the Nolan Batman, if they had gone with that idea, we already know who the Joker is. We already know what he's going on trial for. And then they bring in this minor character as a witness, right? Possibly for the prosecution, but possibly for the defense. His institutional psychiatrist,
right.
Harleen Quinzel.
It would have made
right?
sense, yeah.
That would have been a great way to introduce someone who may in the future become Harley Quinn.
And they couldn't do it because Heath Ledger died, so they didn't. He didn't know how.
Well, there was that. Plus, there was also Nolan not wanting to play ball with a greater universe, which again, I'm like, look, these are our characters. If you don't like what we're doing with these characters, screw you and walk away.
I agree with you, but let's be honest here. Dark Knight trilogy was done. Plenty of time for DC to have set up a proper new universe, and that's when we got Man of Steel and everything crumbled from there on out.
Yeah, you're right.
The MCU Spider-Man talked about his Uncle Ben when Tony Stark came to okay, I must have missed that comment. I'll rewatch it at some point. I must have missed it. My mistake. I'd be surprised if Gunn would care enough to do that. Well, I am going to say something in defense of Gunn here. He's been given no time to set this thing up.
Right.
They had to get this. You got to get this done in 2 years. Get this first Superman movie off the ground. Plus, they're making him shove all these other characters into it because I think he originally was just going to do. Let's start out small, do a Superman movie, kind of like how Marvel just did an Iron Man movie, right?
Yeah.
And a Hulk movie, and they started with those and see how they came off, and then they would build from there. And I thought that's what they were trying to do with this. And now, of course, they're having to. They're already starting with having TV series that are canonical with this stuff already, and it's just I don't know.
Yeah. No, I agree, but I mean, and maybe I'm not 100% clear on what you're getting at, Darth Plato, but just the idea that Gunn wouldn't care enough to do that, to do anything. He better damn well care, because this is all on his shoulders.
He is.
And
I know Midnight's Edge, they were saying that he must be sweating right now after this Joker movie.
Well, there's another big problem here that I'm going to say is kind of not his fault. He's probably getting a lot of limitations put on him by Warner Brothers, and it's very difficult to do stuff when you have that much oversight, and you don't have the freedom to do it. But at the same time, there's some things you should not have the freedom to do. It's about time for them to start cracking the whip and saying, look, we need to get back to whatever the iconic fan-loved elements of these characters are. You make this what the fans want, or get the hell out.
Wait, the Crypto pick doesn't inspire. Is Crypto going to be in this movie? Has that leaked?
So I have not. I don't know the details. I think our chat might actually.
Don't get me wrong.
In this regard, I think the chat probably knows more than I do. I do know that there were some leaks regarding Crypto. I don't know if that was in the form of something going out saying, "Hey, we're looking for a dog to play Crypto." But I don't know that they actually chose a dog. Okay. If there's actually been stills that have said this is what Crypto's going to look like, this is what his role is, I'd be interested to know that. But yeah,
if Zack Snyder we're putting Crypto in a movie, Crypto would get exposed to red kryptonite, and Superman would have to shoot him with a kryptonite gun and kill his dog. In front of the kids, it's like in front of children in the movie who are crying because he shot the dog. Right? I'm just kidding.
No, Jesse's not wrong. DC knocked it out of the park during the 90s. I've said there's a lot of things in that animated run that some of it was unique to those animated features that were then ultimately adopted into the comics. Actually, there's some things people don't realize that were done in the Richard Donner Superman that have now made it into the comics, like Lois having a struggle to quit smoking and having a love for orange juice and other things that were just never existed except in the Donnerverse, and now it's made its way into the comics. Little things like that, you know.
It's how we were going to have to pay for the movie with cryptocurrency. I don't believe
well,
and so yikes.
Again, not a sponsored stream. I am not specifically endorsing any specific cryptocurrency, but might be something to look into, guys.
Or that he did Guardians. He's on record saying he thought Superman was boring. Yeah, I don't have a good feeling about this movie either, but no, I don't even want to say we'll wait and see at this point because we've been burned too many times in the past. I'm very skeptical.
I have been very remiss in not working on my own. I had started a long time ago wanting to do my own take on the DC universe and what I would do with a movie verse, and I've done a few videos about it, but nothing with any consistency. And I really wish I had more time to do that.
You're welcome, Face Fraggle. So Superman in Doomsday is a take on Shane. Oh, I don't know.
I don't know.
I remember Shane.
Well, I also feel like the whole Superman Doomsday story was a story that you do at the end of a long run on Superman.
Like at least a phase 2 or 3.
You don't put it in your second or third movie. That's
stupid. Nobody liked Superman in that universe at that point.
I know. And then suddenly he was the best thing since sliced bread because we needed to be that way for the story to happen.
Him. You know, it's like
you destroyed our city and killed so many of our friends.
Yeah, you're a weird alien that Batman hates, and all of a sudden, oh, it's so sad that he died. Oh man.
Yeah, that's it exactly. In the Snyderverse, Batman and Lex Luthor would probably be the heroes that hated Superman, who was the villain.
That'd be an interesting Elseworlds, or maybe not. Maybe that'd be a horror.
It already exists, but then they decided to make it mainline canon in the Snyderverse.
Wasn't there some comic where Lex Luthor gave Bruce Wayne some kryptonite and says, "Look, we of this class stay together"?
What it was it was in the mainline Byrne era story where the only kryptonite on Earth was the kryptonite that Lex Luthor took from Metallo and turned into a little signet ring, and that kryptonite gave him cancer, and he was dying. He had to do some cloning of himself in order to save his own life. But when Superman got a hold of that piece of kryptonite, he himself gave it to Bruce. And he said, I've seen the wisdom of, there needs to be somebody that keeps any superpowered individual in line. And Bruce, there's no one else I trust more
than you. That was
to have this just in case.
Yes.
And there have been a lot of great stories revolving around that. A lot of speculative future storylines. But it's very important that it was Superman himself who gave Bruce that piece of kryptonite and said, just in case, I want to know that there's somebody who can keep me in check.
All right. We could talk about this all night, and maybe this will be a Friday stream idea, predicting...
Maybe
after the next major announcement for the Gunn-verse, we should talk about Friday.
That's a good idea.
I'm sure at some point they're going to be laying out some trailers or something. But
and welcome, Sashi. Good to see you.
Sashi. Let's move on to Lionsgate. Lionsgate is
Lionsgate is in real trouble. We have said that the entire entertainment industry is in trouble, but the bigger companies can coast for longer. Lionsgate doesn't have the capital that some of the bigger companies do.
And it's sad because for a while I could at least rely on Lionsgate to be, in many ways, less message focused than a lot of the other studios. John Wick movies, they're just these action movies. They're not trying to push anything on me. You know, it's just. But let me go on to say, while several studios have continued to struggle with the box office in the post-COVID landscape, Lionsgate, the home of beloved franchises like John Wick, The Hunger Games, and Saw, has had an uncharacteristically poor 2024, and it's had a massive effect on their box office haul. Hollywood mythology is filled with tales of studios going bankrupt after a single failed project. Battlefield Earth flatlined franchise pictures. I saw that opening weekend. New Line Cinema couldn't recover after The Golden Compass. Yeah, that one did not do well. And even It's a Wonderful Life, yes, the beloved Christmas classic Forced Liberty films will be bought out by Paramount Pictures. But what happens when a studio has 13 financial duds in a single year? If you spent more than 5 minutes among online movie fan circles, you've undoubtedly known about Megalopolis, The Crow, and Borderlands having horrendous box office results and being pulled from theaters early. But sadly for Lionsgate, this is just the beginning. Lionsgate 2024 began fighting an uphill battle. Miller's Girl, starring Martin Freeman and Jenny Ortega, failed to make back half its budget, grossing under $2 million against $4 million production budget. I'd never heard of that movie. I'm just saying. While $1.5 million barely covers the catering budget for a major motion picture, it was the start of a debilitating trend for the studio. In the first half of 2024, Imaginary, Arthur the King, The Ministry of Ungentlemanly Warfare, Unsung Hero, and Ordinary Angels all underperformed against projections at the box office, even if some were profitable. Aside from The Ministry of Ungentlemanly Warfare, Guy Ritchie's latest starring Henry Cavill, Alan Richson, the rest had comparatively small budgets. It didn't help the fact that one of your lead actors on that Ministry movie was running his mouth. But the latter half of 2024 saw Lionsgate enter studio-ending territory as the projects they predicted to tentpole blockbusters performed even worse than their original horror and indie flicks. The aforementioned Borderlands, The Crow, Megalopolis have all had disastrous theatrical runs. Add to that 1992, The Killer's Game, and Never Let Go, and to paraphrase Joe Exotic, Lionsgate will never financially recover from this. Lionsgate highest grossing movies of 2024 so far has surprisingly been The Strangers Chapter 1, a poorly reviewed horror film directed by Rennie Harlin and starring Madeline Petche. Rennie Harlin directed that? He's the guy that made Cliffhanger. Cliffhanger? The Strangers Chapter 1 grossed $47.8 million worldwide. To put in wider context, means that none of Lionsgate's 2024 releases have passed the $50 million mark at the international box office. What does this mean for Lionsgate? So is Lionsgate really in trouble? Well, yes and no. Lionsgate is considered to be a mini major studio within the industry. While it doesn't have Scrooge McDuck-esque vault filled with money like Disney and Warner Brothers, it doesn't have to beg its grandma for finance like the owner of a small indie studio. The studio does have a financial backlog from its 2023 hits for security. Last year, the studio released Saw 10, John Wick Chapter 4, and The Hunger Games, The Ballad of Songbird and Snakes, which is such a long title, to the incredible box office results, but having funded major productions, The Crow and Borderlands, that financial security run out very quickly. For Lionsgate to survive its disastrous 2024, it needs to hold the fort until next year. 2025 could see Lionsgate earn back its abysmal box office earnings this year, thanks to its bigger franchises, as well as the eagerly anticipated Michael Jackson biopic, Michael. The studio will also be releasing from the world of John Wick, Ballerina, Saw 11, and Now You See Me 3 next year. It has taken them forever to make a third Now You See Me movie.
Yep.
What was the holdup there? Did you see
idea.
either of the old ones?
Who was in that one again?
Mark Ruffalo, Woody Harrelson. I think.
Okay,
James
I saw the
Franco's
first
brother,
one.
yeah.
I saw the first one.
They did a sequel. The sequel was kind of funny because they kind of did a retcon on Morgan Freeman's character. How he was kind of the villain in the first one. Then it turns out, no, he's not really a villain, in the second one.
Well, and that whole idea of the sleight of hand, nothing is what it appears kind of thing, kind of lends itself to retconning that way. So I'm not mad at that.
Basically, yeah, he was a friend of the one guy's father and, learned a lot of tricks himself. Do you understand? So,
right.
But Orion Pictures, TriStar Pictures, Lionsgate now, just Disney. Paramount will be left, and Universal, unless something.
Well, Paramount actually stands to go under before Disney does. Disney is on a death spiral, but
Yes,
you know, they are one of the ones I was thinking of that has enough money to continue coasting and getting away with.
I think the
a lot of
thinnest
failures
ice right now. Maybe it's Lionsgate, but I think Warner Brothers is on thin ice right now. This Gunn-verse had better hit it out of the park.
Yeah,
because it does. It's you can't just slap Superman on something and expect it to sell. The movie has to be great, and I've said it before. You have to kind of eclipse the Donner Superman movie. This has to be like The Dark Knight versus Batman '89. How they're both these beloved classic Batman movies.
Yeah.
You need to do something on that level, or you forget it. You can't phone it in now. There's no more phoning it in with DC characters. You have to don't even get me started on Wonder Woman 84.
Oh God,
Wonder Woman 84. What a complete botch that was. Lionsgate doesn't have their own streaming service, so they can make some money selling movies to Netflix. They do that. In fact, was the Beekeeper Lionsgate, or was that somebody else? That might have been somebody else. But
I don't know.
That was a big movie this year. Morgan's Brains were blowout hard.
Honestly, there's more money to be made in licensing your shows and films to someone else than there is in having your own streaming service.
Yeah. Okay. DC has also had an albatross of how they treated Snyder, Cavill, and the fans. That doesn't help matters. I mean, there were people who still liked the actors they were using, like Cavill and even Gal Gadot and stuff. And of course, you had the Ezra Miller stuff in there too, which just was okay. But Lionsgate, what do you think? Well, let's move on to another Lionsgate news story, right?
Yeah, I mean, this is not something that fills me with a great deal of hope for Lionsgate. This is kind of doubling down on not good, Lionsgate. You're hastening your own death if you're going this route.
Yeah, we'll talk about Disney soon enough, Jesse. Luca Guadagnino, if I'm getting that name wrong, I apologize, in talks to direct new American Psycho film for Lionsgate. So this is another adaptation. So getting ready to explore a fresh take on Patrick Bateman. The filmmaker is in final negotiations to helm a new film adaptation of Lionsgate author Bret Easton Ellis' 1991 novel American Psycho. The book was previously adapted into a film and directed by Mary Herron that starred Christian Bale as the lead character Bateman, with Lionsgate releasing it in theaters in 2000. Wow.
Yeah. I've got strong feelings about remaking something so soon after its last adaptation. Stop doing that.
It's been over 2 decades, though. I mean, there is a precedent. I don't like it, but there is a precedent because I don't think the movie is.
What's the precedent? Where has that been done and it was good?
I don't know. I'm just Scott Z. Burns is writing the script. That's why I half expected that Lord of the Rings series on Amazon. I thought they were readapting the original trilogy into a series form. I didn't realize it was going to be that other nonsense.
Yeah.
Scott Z. Burnson is writing the script for the project that is produced by Frenzy Films and is said to not be a remake of the first adaptation, but rather a new take on the novel. Sam Pressman of Pressman Films, whose father, Edward R. Pressman, produced the 2000 movie, is executive producing the new version. American Psycho centers on investment banker Bateman, who seemingly leads a double life as a serial killer. We are thrilled to add another elite filmmaker to our upcoming slate, said Lionsgate Motion Picture Group Chair Adam Fogelson in a statement. Luke is a brilliant artist and the perfect visionary to create a whole new interpretation of this potent and classic IP. It's a novel, dude. Can't they just take another Bret Easton Ellis novel that hasn't been adapted and make that into a movie?
You got me there. Yeah, look. My question whenever they're rebooting, remaking, my question is always why. And the answer has to be good. Otherwise, don't do it.
Bret Easton Ellis is still alive. He has his own podcast, I think. You could probably just ask him, hey, can you write us a new screenplay?
Yeah.
Kind of in the same vein or something. He'd probably do it. He remember just what?
Well, and I suspect, look, there's an element of if you are the creator of something and someone says, hey, do you mind if we remake this? hey, I don't care. I'm making money off it either way, whether it's good or bad or indifferent. But that's not a smart thing to do. It's really not.
Yeah, I don't get this. Sorry, where are you, Geek Flakes?
I've always been of the mind, if you own an IP and you're thinking about remaking it, don't. Just re-release it in theaters.
Jesse Guajardo, this is the original cover for the American Psycho book, which many people wish they would re-release it with this cover. I think now they just put the Christian Bale character on it now.
Yeah.
But,
Yeah.
That was the original cover for the original novel when it was released.
Right.
Brett Easton Ellis had a lot of movie adaptations. It wasn't Less Than Zero one of his. I think the Robert Downey Jr. Andrew McCarthy movie. Remember that? I think it was James Gunn in that too. Yeah, that was a classic '80s movie. But yeah, writers need work to make money. Yeah.
Actually, I think Darth Plato kind of hit it on the nose here. They're strip mining past works. It's easier to rake in the dough. Yeah, no.
You're going to see a remake of American Psycho.
There is nothing easier than just re-releasing what already exists and getting more money from it. That's okay to do. I'm fine with that. Put it out in the theaters. It may actually bring in more revenue than some of the new crap that people are putting out.
Yeah, it might be more cost effective just to re-release the old movies in the theater. I mean, I just don't understand this. Straight to Netflix. Yeah, probably. So let's move on to Disney. This is the big one for the night.
Oh, yeah.
You like
You're
Disney?
not wrong.
You like Disney?
No, not anymore. I don't.
You feel hope? You feel hope? No? Let's read the article, and then we'll comment on it. I don't know if I'm going to read the whole thing, but we'll see. Disney is about to have its fourth board chair in just over 3 years as the company continues to navigate ongoing tumult in the media industry. Chairman Mark Parker will step down at the end of the year, the company announced Monday. Morgan Stanley CEO James Gorman will replace Parker starting in 2025. I want to say first, the tumult is caused by them. I am honored and humbled to have the opportunity to serve as Disney's chairman at this important moment in the company's history, Gorman said in a statement. Parker, a board member for 9 years, just stepped into the chairmanship role last year, replacing Susan Arnold, who held the role for just over a year until her term expired. Arnold had served on Disney's board for a decade and a half. This is starting to feel like musical chairs at this point, but I don't know.
Yeah.
Among the decisions Gorman will be tasked with replacing Bob Iger as CEO, the company also announced that a replacement for Iger will be named in early 2026. Iger returned as CEO last year after a brief hiatus. Gorman said Monday that choosing a new CEO is critical, and the announcement of the timing reflects progress in Disney's decision to replace Iger. Can you find a CEO that Kathleen Kennedy doesn't have dirt on so we can get rid of her? I'm sorry, I didn't say that. Sorry. Parker, when he was announced, said replacing Iger would be among his top priorities. Instead, Parker and the board quickly renewed Iger's contract through 2026. Although Iger said he would not stay longer than 2 years in his latest stint in the company, the extension meant that he would serve as CEO in his second go-around in the last 4 years. There's nothing going to be left by the time he's out of there. Gorman currently serves as the chair of Disney's Succession Planning Committee, which is responsible for the CEO search, but that has proven difficult as Disney navigates choppy waters. The movie industry is slipping as people increasingly stream shows and films online. Yeah, whose fault is that? You were the guys that went all in on streaming.
Yeah.
But Disney's streaming business is only just recently became profitable, and linear television is continuing to decline, and the future of ESPN, ABC, and other stations have weighed heavily on Iger at Disney as a result. The board and succession planning committee had heard from investors that providing more specificity to the successor process was important to them, according to a person familiar with the matter. The committee, after evaluating where they were in the process, determined that an early 2026 announcement date would provide enough time to find Iger's successor. Disney Entertainment co-chairs Dana Walden and Alan Bergman, ESPN chairman Jimmy Pitaro, and Disney Experiences chairman Josh D'Amaro are all said to be in the running for the CEO position. Although Disney said that the committee and board continue to review internal candidates and external candidates. Meanwhile, Disney, in its latest earnings report, announced somewhat lackluster spending from visitors to its U.S. parks, which the company chalked up to jitters about the economy. The company's the economy's doing just fine. That's what the news cycle keeps telling me. It's doing better than people think, you know. The company said Gorman will provide a valuable leader to help navigate Disney through it all. James Gorman is an esteemed leader who has become an invaluable voice on the Disney board since joining earlier this year, and I am extremely pleased that he has agreed to assume the role as chairman upon my departure, said Parker's statement. Drawing on his vast experience, James is expertly guiding the extensive process forward as for a new CEO, which remains a top priority for the board. And as far as replacing Iger, announcing his seemingly always imminent departure from Disney, Iger has become the CEO, cried Wolf. Iger, in his first stint as Disney CEO, renewed his contract multiple times, bucking promises to step down until he finally did a month before the pandemic swept the globe, shutting down the world's businesses, including Disney. You remember that?
Yep.
We were around when it happened. So as Iger's work fixing Disney isn't done quite yet, CNN's had Escol contributed to this report. But
well,
Iger said
fixing,
he's done.
I'm going to say in quotes, because I'm not so sure fixing is actually the right word here.
They're not in as bad shape as Lionsgate, movie-wise, at least. They had some.
Well, they're not as in as bad shape because we're talking degrees here, right? This is one of those examples of a company that's got so much money, so much capital, they can coast, but they can only coast for so long. They're still in a death spiral, and I'm not sure this makes them look any more attractive to investors.
Yeah. I don't know, though. Troy, that speech is probably going to end up on Disney's tombstone. Well, I don't know, maybe. Disney will not end well. I have no idea how Disney is going to end. It doesn't look good, but I keep predicting the end, and the end doesn't come. But as you said, Rome didn't die in a day, right?
Right.
It wasn't built in a day, and it didn't die in a day. It didn't fall in a day. Disney forced the cable companies to raise prices after renew their contract, even though there's not much Disney cable content after shutting down Toon Disney and Jet X channel. Okay, Disney X channel, and Disney is being preserved like Lenin's body. Oh, that's funny.
Yeah.
Bob Iger can't fix Disney because he's the one that I'm sorry. All right, so So is this a positive thing, or is this just meet the old boss, same as the new boss sort of thing? What do you think?
I've seen. Okay, first I need to point out that I don't have any great major behind-the-scenes type insight here. The best I could do is look to other channels that have greater insight than I do to read the tea leaves, and all I can say is at this point, I don't think anybody's got a great handle on it. This could just be moving the cookies around the plate and trying to suggest that there's more there than there is. But whatever it is, I don't think this is this could just be posturing. This could just be we know we're in trouble, so we got to do something. But what it is, I do not know. Actually, what might be a better way forward is to just maybe move on to the next article. This doesn't paint a better picture either.
I'm happy with this article, though, because I don't want them doing this.
I agree.
Of course, I think I was listening to deleted scenes earlier, and they say one of the reasons this kept getting delayed was because Mahershala Ali kept saying the scripts were terrible he was being given. So I don't know if that's true. If there's any truth, that was a rumor. But
so
yeah.
Before we get too far into this, I think one of the things that a lot of people have pointed to was what's his name? The appearance of Blade in the
Wesley Snipes.
recent Wesley Snipes,
yes.
Yeah, and the whole "I'm the only Blade" thing, and I think a lot of people kind of were like, yeah, maybe.
Yeah.
That's not me throwing shade at.
No, he's a good actor. I think he could do it.
I do, because especially based on what I said earlier in the stream, this idea of sometimes you just recast and continue on. Don't reboot, just continue on.
Yeah.
But if what he has said is true, it's not it's not the actor that makes or breaks it. It's what scripts they're giving him, and if they suck, then maybe it is better to not do it.
That's what I loved about the first Blade movie, though. It wasn't an origin story. It just, I mean, it went into his origin a little bit in the movie to explain to this character where he came from. But
right.
Basically, it's Blade doing his thing in the beginning, and he's like in the middle of the latest issue of a comic book, like his latest conflict. They didn't, because I think you can do that with superheroes. You don't always have to give an origin story. You can. And I thought they did it beautifully in that movie where they steadily explained, okay, I found, his mother was bitten while she was pregnant and, and all this. And I thought they did a wonderful job. But the Daywalker will have to wait a little bit longer to have his time in the sun. Disney has reported the Marvel rebooted Blade starring Mahershala Ali as the titular half vampire from the release calendar has been removed. Okay. It was dated for November 7, 2025. Disney will instead release Predator Badlands, the sixth film in the Otherworldly franchise, on the early November release date that was held for Blade. Meanwhile, Marvel added 3 untitled projects to the schedule for February 18th, 2028, May 5th, 2028, and November 10th, 2028. Well, what are those? The comic book Empire's decision to take Blade off the docket was widely expected after Disney CEO Bob Iger stated in an earnings call May 7th that Marvel will release a maximum of 3 movies a year. Of the 4 superhero films Disney previously slated for 2025, including Captain America, Brave New World, Thunderbolts, The Fantastic Four, First Steps, and Blade. Blade is the only project that hasn't started production. And the director, Yan Damage of Lovecraft Country, also exited the film in June. Yeah, I think this thing's DOA. I mean, it may come back later, but I think it's done. But we still have the Thunderbolts to look forward to, right?
There again, I am going to also say that some of the bigger channels, Culture Casino and Valiant Renegade, have done videos on them, and I would encourage you to check those out. I know that there's been speculation that, for all we know, maybe we will still get another Blade movie, but with Wesley Snipes. I don't know. I have no insight on that.
Yeah. This is an interesting comment, though, if you don't mind me reading this. Kevin Feige is the reason the Blade movie didn't get made, because Feige just wanted to make the movie to replace Blade with his daughter, and everybody around him kept telling him, don't do this. I've heard this before. Have you heard this too?
I have.
And
I don't know if there's any truth to it, but let's face it, it's one of those Poe's Law sort of things where it's like, look, this could be a bunch of BS, but it sure sounds like the kind of thing that Feige and Disney would do. It doesn't sound that far outside the realm of plausibility.
These are the ones always complaining about diversity. Here you have a very popular black superhero. In fact, I would argue the first Blade resurrected the superhero genre after it had died.
Absolutely. The Wesley Snipes Blade really did kind of save Marvel, and one could argue was the first successful Marvel Comics film. I don't want to call him a superhero because I really don't feel like Blade is a superhero, more of an anti-hero, but definitely comic book movie.
Blade falls into the line of characters like the Punisher, maybe Ghost Rider to an extent, that the kind of darker edged characters that Marvel had, which I thought should have existed in their sort of their own universe, maybe not. I mean, film-wise, the comics, they exist everywhere, but I thought that would have been interesting. I would try most movies. Like, I thought Blade could have shown up in the Netflix Marvel universe, which apparently is supposed to be taking place in the MCU, but of course, it's not canon anymore, so why did they have to make it canon to begin with? Because it didn't make sense for those shows to be canon in the... Never mind.
There's another great example where they decanonized these films, but then brought the actors in to continue those roles, which blurs the lines.
But why did they even decanonize the Netflix series unless maybe there's something conflicting there? Because
there's a rights related issue. It's about
Because they were
whatever's
awful.
canon for those those funds go to
Because
to
those
Netflix.
shows, in a limited way, were trying to basically wink at the audience. We're in the MCU as well. Yeah, but
Right.
never mind. Okay, Marvel ruined Black Panther, would ruin Blade. I have no doubt. Yeah, well, they didn't have him in the second movie. It's called Black Panther, and he's not in it. I guess the Siri becomes the Black Panther in that. So in the Blade comics, they replaced him with his daughter, and they canceled after her first run. All new, all different Marvel. Okay.
Yeah.
But Blade stands okay. Nothing against the actor they were choosing. I hope he does other stuff. He's been in plenty of good stuff. He was Cottonmouth on Luke Cage. He was great in that. But now moving on to another Disney movie, Disney production.
Yeah. And again, lots of speculation here. Lots of ways they could screw this up. I'm not saying that's what's happening, but I could see it.
If you want to hurt Prince Charming and ruin him, then just don't do a Prince Charming movie. And I can already tell you, you think they're going after the Barbie universe with the Barbie audience with this, like with the whole Ken popularity of the Ken character in that movie. I think that's what this is about.
I don't know. That might be a little bit on the nose.
Okay.
I don't think they are clever enough to do that, but I don't know. It could be. Could be.
Prince Charming, the love interest of many a Disney princess, is getting his own feature film. I thought Prince Charming was only in Snow White, and never mind. I'm not going to... No. Okay. Wonka filmmaker Paul King, who also helmed the first two Paddington features, is directing Prince Charming for Disney. King, Simon Barnaby, and John Croker are co-writing the screenplay, of which plot details have not been confirmed. It's unclear if the film will be live action or animated. In classic fairy tales, the Prince Charming character is one who rescues a damsel in distress and sets out to save her from evil forces. Stepmothers, see Cinderella, Snow White, Sleeping Beauty, Rapunzel, and basically any other 20th century, the time period, not the film studio. It'd be funny if they used this vehicle as a way to make fun of the girl boss princesses they're doing now.
Yeah, I don't see them doing it, but yeah.
It would be funny if they did.
Yeah, I agree.
But
and I agree with Matanui too, with what Matanui says. I'm sorry, this goes back to the last point, but the Deadpool thing, the joke was funny. But let's keep in mind that's Ryan Reynolds making that joke, not Disney proper.
I see. Though Prince Charming was originally the love interest of Cinderella, okay, he was also Cinderella. This project will not specifically be linked to the curfew-breaking princess. According to Deadline Hollywood, who reported the news of the Prince Charming movie and King's involvement. King, the 46-year-old British director, most recently steered Wonka, an origin story starring Timothée Chalamet as the famed fictional chocolatier. It made a lot of money, blah, blah. Okay, the commercial success was a sweet surprise to Warner Brothers, as well as theater owners who reap rewards from the Charlie and the Chocolate Factory spinoff. King also directed 2014's beloved Paddington. And the 2017 Paddington. I do like those movies. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah,
I do like the Paddington movies. Though he's not directing the forthcoming threequel titled Paddington in Peru. Boo! He's helped with the story for the latest adventure about everyone's favorite marmalade-loving bear. Antonio Banderas is going to be in Paddington in Peru. Did you know that? Yes.
That makes sense. That sounds like good casting to me.
Yeah, so we'll see. Agent Boomer, I thought Prince Charming was already done with his villain arc with the Shrek movies.
I was getting ready to say, but that's not Disney, and yet they now own DreamWorks, don't they?
No, they don't. DreamWorks.
They don't? Oh, never mind.
Shrek
then.
is safe. That's why Puss in Boots: The Last Wish was so good. That was a really good animated movie. I recommend that to you when you get around.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it was. I don't want to explain, but the Jiminy Cricket's in it, and it's funny what he has to deal with in that.
Oh yeah.
I'm your conscience. I'm here to judge you. That's what he says.
Yeah.
You know, like, and it almost sounds like a Jimmy Stewart type of Jiminy Cricket.
Yeah.
Prince Charming movie. Yeah. Well, I don't know. Actually, there's only yes, but anyway, Prince Charming. You looking forward to this? The director is good.
I don't know enough to say yay or nay on that. I see great potential in there, but the negative Nelly in me says, but yeah, they won't go that route, so it's going to stink. I don't know. All
right. So I guess we're on to our final story of the night. It depends on if Disney messes with this. That's basically it, right? Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
if they could just let this director do his own thing and maybe show a love for the classic Disney movies in this movie, it could be good. And stop with the nonsense and just make a crowd pleaser.
We'll see.
Anyway, this of course horrifies me. And you were like, you didn't think this was a big deal, but I was upset that, oh no, Liam Neeson on maybe maybe retiring at the end of next year.
Yeah.
No, say it ain't so. Liam Neeson is seeing the end of the road starring in action films, and the time seems to be coming to an end. In a new interview, Neeson talks about his age and considers when he should stop taking on physically demanding roles. I'm 72, it has to stop at some stage, Neeson told People. The Taken actor continues to perform his own fight scenes, with Mark Van Syl taking on the more demanding stunts. You can't fool audiences. I don't want Mark to be fighting my fight scenes for me, he added. Neeson hasn't set a time to stop making action movies, but noted that it could be sometime in 2025. Maybe the end of next year. I think that's it, he said. Neeson's next film, Absolution, will hit theaters on November 1st. It revolves around an aging gangster who attempts to reconnect with his children and amend past mistakes.
Yeah.
That's all it's about. No, I'm sorry, it's not every movie. Sometimes he's an ex-CIA officer or something like that.
Yeah.
Liam Neeson actioners are a guilty pleasure of mine. I watch them often.
I
Some of them
agree.
are entertaining and some of them are dumb, but I enjoy them. He's basically taken on the types of roles Harrison Ford was taking on like 20 years ago. Remember Harrison Ford?
Yeah, and see, when I had just read the title and hadn't read the article yet, I commented to you, in the background that, like with Harrison Ford, I'm like, well, I don't know, man, because Harrison Ford's like, what is he, 80 now?
Yeah.
And he hasn't shown any signs of retiring. But then again, now that we're reading through the article, I'm like, yeah, but he's not really doing his own stunts much anymore. He's got other people doing it, and so it seems like Liam Neeson sees that and goes, yeah, I don't want to go down that route. Because people know. People can tell.
I respect him. I actually think he's a good actor, and maybe he's realizing he can't be starring in these Taken type movies anymore, where he's like screaming out, "Kiss my fat Irish arse." I think he said that in one of the movies.
And again, and the title does say, and his quote does say, he's specifically retiring from action films. That doesn't mean he's retiring from all acting. Period.
No, he may still.
This is a guy who has done. He's done a lot of great dramatic roles. He's also done a lot of voice acting. And it doesn't mean that he's going to be retiring from those either.
Yeah. But, I will miss his action.
So there may be some wisdom in what he's saying. I will give him that, yeah.
Who's his replacement for the aging action stars? I'm thinking Hugh Jackman.
Yeah.
Hugh Jackman can take on these types of movies next. What do you think? Hugh
Jackman isn't as old as he is, in really good shape still. Can probably still has some years of.
That's who they're going to contact. I mean, Gerard Butler does a lot of these types of movies too, and Denzel Washington. But Denzel Washington's getting up there too, because I saw him in the latest Equalizer. Really good movie, but he's getting up there too. So, yeah, it'd probably be Hugh Jackman, because he's not going to do any more. I think he's. Well, who knows? He always says he's done with Wolverine, and then he shows up again as Wolverine. But
I think he's really done this time, though. I think he was really done before.
With Logan, Logan movie.
Yeah, but I think that Ryan Reynolds gave him enough reason to come back. There was a number of reasons that made it reasonable and viable for him to do it one more time, but I think he really is done this time. But I also think that Ryan Reynolds is done with Deadpool as well.
Yeah, maybe go out on a high note, maybe.
Yeah.
Earlier this year, Deadline reported that Neeson would star in a cross-country car chase movie, The Mongoose. I'm there, dude. Prime Video film stars Neeson as Ryan Fang Flanagan, A war hero who, accused of a crime he didn't commit and with nothing to lose, leads police on an epic televised cross-country car chase helped by members of his former Special Forces Army Battalion and closely monitored by a fascinated public rooting for his safe getaway. Oh my word, it's like Convoy remake. It's like, what is this? It's
Yeah.
all right, but good luck to Liam Neeson and whatever he goes forward. But Liam Neeson, I keep saying Neeson. He was also, that's this geek related, because he was Qui-Gon Jinn in episode 1, The Phantom Menace, remember?
Yeah. Well, and at least, technically, if he wants to come back as a Force Ghost again, there's no action role there involved. That would still count for him.
He's going to play a 26-year-old Hannibal character at age 70. Yeah, or they're planning to play Hannibal, and I didn't even think about his age. Like, I sort of got it in that Gladiator 2 movie, which doesn't look terribly good, but, he's playing an aging character in that, so it made sense. But
yeah,
Deadpool and Wolverine movie is still a fun movie. I'm going to check it out when I
get it. Sure.
Public library will be getting it soon, so... Agent Boomer, isn't that the A-Team? They probably ripped it off, but
yeah,
I don't care. Liam Neeson's good in anything. Oh my word, he's in some bad ones. It's funny listening to Big Al review Liam Neeson action movies sometimes.
Yeah,
he is not a fan. He is not a fan, but they're a guilty pleasure of mine. That's it for Geeky Geezers.
Yeah.
I'm sad. We had a lot to get through tonight. Actually, we didn't have a lot to get through, but we got on tangents. Get us talking about Star Trek. It'll go on for a long time. But like I said, I think Deep Space Nine for good old days next week. I'll try to remember that. Plain Simple Garrick. Remember him?
I absolutely do.
They had great actors on that show. Mm-hmm. Avery Brooks, too. The most underrated captain in all of Star Trek, I think, too, right?
I do. I agree. Yeah.
But here we are. What's going on at 5 past midnight? It will be the other side of midnight at that point.
Yep. Deleted scenes. I will be joining him for that. It will be the what do you call it? The last in the series of Halloween themed physical media that we'll be talking about. So yeah, definitely want to see you guys tune in for that. Halloween, and if you're here on my channel on YouTube and you stick with me, you will be auto-dramatically forwarded to that stream after we end here.
To the magic stream.
Yep.
We had a magical stream on Friday, too, with the Paul Lynde Halloween special.
That was fun. Until
the disco portion happened, and that's when I was like, okay.
You were very kind not to pick on me for my Paul Lynde impression in the opening.
I know. Believe it or not, I thought it was rather good. I almost thought
I did too, but I'm like, I don't know. I don't know how people.
I thought you were using an AI imitator. Did he use his AI thing like he did one?
No, I didn't.
And I realized, that's Troy doing a Paul Lynde impersonation. It was
that
good.
Really was me doing Paul Lynde, although I did slightly augment it by upping the pitch slightly. But yeah, I was kind of pleased with that.
Well, thank you, Space Fraggle. But like I said, you can always catch us during the week. And on
Monday. So speaking of what we got coming up, so yeah, obviously I'll be over on Deleted Scenes channel in about an hour. But then join us tomorrow night, which is Monday night on my channel. Netter and I will be hosting and I'll be talking about this a little bit because it is the physical media show, the William Peter Blatty double feature, which is his in his mind, the creator of The Exorcist, in his opinion, the trilogy of The Exorcist is Exorcist 1, the Ninth Configuration, and Exorcist 3.
Okay.
So we will be watching those first two movies, the original Exorcist and the ninth configuration.
That's a scary double feature you got there.
It is, and they're two very different films, but they're related films.
Cool.
So we will be taking a look at those for Monday Night at the Movies on right here on my channel at 8 Central, 9 Eastern, Monday night. Then Tuesday we will be you, Age Boomer, myself, Netter, and again Deleted Scenes over on Deleted Scenes channel for the last episode of Twin Peaks: The Return, which is the last episode of Twin Peaks in general. We kind of got an ending last week. Now we get the other ending, or the other part of the ending, or a different perspective on the ending. The part 2 of the ending, however you want to put it.
Penultimate?
Yeah, well, no. Last week was the penultimate.
Final,
this one is
finale.
The ultimate. But
This is the finale.
It's really the finale.
Last episode, at least, of The Return. Unless we get Twin Peaks: The Return of the Return.
And we will touch on it. We will try to analyze it a little bit, but I'll let you guys kind of simmer on it. And then the next week we will do more of a deep dive, digestion of it.
Okay.
And so followed immediately after that on my channel, Netter and I will be doing the next episode of Blake 7, which you guys seem to have been enjoying a lot. So we will be we'll be talking Blake 7. Next right after Live from Sparkwood 21. Thursday is Halloween, so we will have a special episode on Netter's Network, doing a watch party of Behind the Mask, The Rise of Leslie Vernon, and if you've never seen that before, I think you're going to enjoy it. Let's see. Nate has a suggestion of a horror film for us. Tubi. It's on Tubi. Low Lifes is good.
Low Lifes.
Okay, I'll have to check it out. It's a Tubi original.
There's good stuff on Tubi, and it's
There
free.
is.
You get commercials.
There
but
is.
Everyone should have a Tubi account on your streaming device or computer or something.
Absolutely.
Check it out. Are they the ones that have Welcome Back Kotter on there?
I think so.
I see if there's a Halloween episode of Welcome Back Kotter to watch this week.
Yeah, there you go. And then
Friday.
And then followed right after by Deleted Scenes
Weekend Update. Or
Weekend Update.
Weekday, whatever it is.
Although, keep in mind, we're going with a later, because it's going to be a 2-hour film there, Deleted Scenes. I'm not sure how you want to manage that. If you want to do a late one, or if you want to overlap with us, that's fine too. But keep an eye on what Deleted Scenes is doing for his Halloween episode of the Weekend Update, where he tells you everything he's got coming up for the next week, for the first week of November.
It's a good little service he does there.
And Boomer and I are still on the fence about Friday's Last Call. I have a possible guest lined up, but if that doesn't happen, we might do something very different. If our guest doesn't,
either way, it'll be interesting.
Yeah. If the guest doesn't line up,
what
we might end up doing is a special celebration episode. Celebrating, my AdSense monetization and Netter's initial monetization on her channel. So
that's
might do
right.
That on
it could
Friday.
be like what is it, like a anyone can jump in sort of thing, or like anyone,
absolutely.
You talk to chat and
I'll bring
ask
in
questions.
some of you guys. Absolutely, that could very well be. So we'll see. I'm still deciding what we're going to be doing on Friday. Depends on my guest. I've got an invite out to him. Saturday over on Big Al Presents Films with Friends, we will be watching the classic Tim Allen led Galaxy Quest. That will be the rewatch for Saturday night over on Big Al Presents Films with Friends. So there we go for
Galaxy
that.
Quest. Remember when my dad saw that? He said that's the best Star Trek movie I've seen in a long time.
Your dad was not wrong.
He made an argument. He was liking it better than the TNG movies because I think what came out was it was Star Trek Insurrection. He didn't like that movie.
It was
weak. I took him to see it, and I thought he'd like it because there was Gilbert and Sullivan singing in the beginning of it. He was
yeah.
And he's like, I thought it was going to be an insurrection. He thought it was going to be about the Maquis. Remember the Maquis?
Yeah, that would have made sense. Yeah, exactly.
But yeah.
And then Sundays is all deleted scenes all the time. You'll find out about that on his weekend update. And we'll be back with more Geeky Geezers next week.
Sounds like a plan. We will talk about Deep Space Nine.
And of course, throughout the week, I will be peppering you with clips from this show and last week's show. And, if you missed it,
if you want to hear our live
just catch those clips.
If you want to hear our live commentary on the Paul Lynde Halloween special, the Friday stream is still up on his channel, too.
Yep. And even though you won't be able to watch the actual show, I bet you dollars to donuts you can find the Paul Lynde Halloween special out there, probably on YouTube or some other streaming platform. It's fairly easy to find. A lot of people are carrying it, so you can still queue it up if you want to check that out.
Gotcha. All right, catch y'all later. You have a good night, and be sure to check out The Other Side of Midnight coming right up.
Catch y'all later.